Oh, yes. What's happening, everybody? We got UFC 289 coming up this Saturday, pay-per-view card. Been a minute before we've had some really good fights. So this is going to be a good one. We've got a fantastic main card, some really fun prelims on this one. And I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you, the chat, everybody that watches Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy, Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. The Ultimate Fighter's over. Now we get to concentrate on making some money on these fights, UFC 289, stacking cash tickets like flapjacks on this card. And I've got all the data. I've got all the stats ready to go. And I've watched all the tape on these guys. So I'm ready to break down these fights and figure out ways to beat these bookies with a bag of oranges until we juice them. So let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about last week's card. Terrible card for me. Absolutely brutal. I think I was 5-8 on my picks. My greasy 4-leg parlay went 0 for 4. The ass shaving of the week, Daniel Pineda, did not get the job done over Alex Caceres, and he probably could have been finished 14 different times in that fight. But I was only down 1.22 units, and that was because it was a card where I didn't have a lot of confident reads. So I kept the bankroll management was really key this week. I kept it really small. I think I only had 2.45 units at stake, cashed a quarter unit bet on the Muhammad Naimov money line at plus 390. So won almost the unit there, and then lost about 2.2 units on the parlay that I had, which was the over 2.5 rounds for Arlovsky versus Mays, parlayed with the fight doesn't go to decision for Pineda Caceres. Hey, if you're going to miss on a parlay, you might as well miss every damn leg, because it cashes the same as if you hit all but one leg. But still, very rough week, but still only managed to lose 1.22 units on bad reads. I was on the Kai Kara France side. I was on the Jimmy Fry side. I was on the Abubakar Nurmagomedov side. So very close fights there. Could have went either way, but didn't get them going my way. But I'm not worried about that, because if we keep the losses small, and if we have good weeks like we had 2 weeks ago when we hit the max bet on Anthony Hernandez, then we're going to find ways to get that bankroll growing. And that's the whole point of this show, to use the data that we have available to put in the work, and over a long period of time, beat these bookies more times than they beat us. And last week was a rough week. I know it was a rough week for a lot of people, but we're looking to bounce back hard this week. And I'm really excited to debut the new stats that we have available here now. And as you can see on the page, we got some colors on the spreadsheet. And what we're doing here right now, like this is the Belbita Oliveira fight, which is the first fight that we're going to talk about. And now I've built this spreadsheet, which is going to be on the available on the Patreon at patreon.com/UncleWeezy. $10 a month is going to get you access to this spreadsheet, which not only has all the statistics available like we've done in the matchup templates for the past, but it has the divisional averages baked into every single category. So now you can see that Diana Belbita lands 6.43 significant strikes per minute. She attempts 15.15, but now you could see that she's 2.38 significant strikes per minute above the average for the division, for the women's strawweight division, which is actually 4.05. So she's landing 6.43. So now this is color coded in green, so you know that she's far above average. Same thing with here. And you can also see for every stat that we have available, control time allowed, total takedowns attempted, takedown percentage. Everything that we have now is going to be compared against the divisional benchmarks. And for only $10 a month, you can access this on my Patreon. I think it's a fantastic tool to add a new level of analysis to your betting. And these kind of things do differ from division to division. So having the divisional benchmarks baked into each sheet will show you whether a fighter is above or below the average for the division. And you will know things about pace, about volume, about accuracy, about defense, about takedowns landed, takedowns attempted, average control time, all these kind of things where you find out the benchmarks and then you find out how the fighters involved in that particular fight compare to the benchmarks. And I think it's going to be a really good extra layer of analysis for people who are serious MMA gamblers and are looking to make money. So please go support my work. Go join the Patreon. It's the best way to make sure that I can continue providing this free content on YouTube for you guys every single week, breaking down these fights. I appreciate everybody that's in here watching the show. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. Think about joining the Patreon, and I appreciate your attention tonight. So, rough week last week. We got a bounce back week in the chamber for this week. 11 fights. We're going to break them all down for you guys. I got a little story time with Uncle Weezy planned for you guys. I got an underdog ass shaving of the week for you guys this week. So I'm really fired up for this card. I think it's going to be a fun one. I don't have a lot of track bets yet, but that will be coming further along later on in the week as these lines start to open up on other books, because I'm looking at quite a few props this week. But we'll get into it here after we see what's up with you guys in the chat. My guy Dixon in the chat first saying, Prophet Weezy, hear ye, hear ye. We knoweth that you can undoubtedly outrun a man that goes by the name of Dantale. But what we want to know is if you can out-hump him for a spot on the Olympic team. Look, Dixon, you guys know that your Uncle Weezy knows his strengths and he knows his weaknesses. Real recognize real. Can I beat Dantale Mayes in a 50-yard dash even though I am horribly slow? The answer to that question is yes. I would beat him in a 50-yard dash. Am I out-humping Dantale Mayes any day of the week at any time of the day? If I'm being realistic with you, there's really no chance. You find me somebody in the UFC that has actually scored points via humping, and find that person to be somebody named besides Dantale Mayes, I have a feeling you're going to be watching a lot of tape and finding it very fruitless, because you're going to find that there's only one man in the history of the UFC that has ever scored points via humping, and his name is Dantale Mayes. Is he out humping your Uncle Weezy? Yes. Is he out running your Uncle Weezy in a 50-yard dash? There's only one way to find out, and that's if Dantale Mayes shows up for the race. And Storytime with Uncle Weezy today is going to be based on this potential race that I think we can make happen. And we can find out who's faster. The 49-year-old MMA analyst with a bad back and long hair, or the guy that's the so-called athlete in the prime of his career who just knocked out a 44-year-old man in Andrei Arlovsky on Saturday. Can he beat a 49-year-old in a race? Only time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't want to claim that I can out-hump Dantale Mayes. I don't think there's a man in the UFC that can. My guy Bob Spikermans is in the room saying, Weezy, what's up, Bob? Saying got absolutely massacred last card. It was crazy, man. Especially losing a max bet on Kai Kara France at plus 155 hurt me bad. Oh, man. Yeah, I talked about it on Stat Diggers. Unbelievable that Chris Lee wound up scoring that fourth round for Amir Albazi, but that's the situation that we're in as UFC fans. We know that these judges are corrupt. They're not incompetent, they're corrupt. Because if that was incompetence, there would be some kind of a penalty. There would be some kind of a punishment for Chris Lee. But I think everybody knows that there's not going to be any punishment. There will be no I was going to say recourse, but there's another word that sounds kind of like that. That means punishment for Chris Lee, and there won't. So, he's going to continue to show up and piss away win bonuses for fighters that deserves them. So I'm sorry about that, Bob. That's a rough bet to lose, dude. Jenna Marie is in the room. What's up? What's happening, Jenna? Good to see you in here. Let's make some money this week. Let's find some winners. We got TBB picks in the room saying make great money on Karina KO sub. So Karina inside the distance and Blackshear money line and KO. Wow, you got the KO on Blackshear, dude. That's badass because I picked Blackshear to win, but I would have never picked him to win that by knockout. So big ups, man. And by the way, that's how bad my week was last week. I had Ketlin Souza. I actually picked her to win by decision. So we all have bad weeks, but it's how we bounce back from said bad weeks that define the men and women that we are. So let's go. And TBB saying plus 400 units this card alone. Can't wait for this weekend. Let's go, man. Let's get it, man. Daz Dillinger's in the room saying Maria couldn't hit water if she fell out of a cruise ship, dude. Yeah, I know, man. The percentage is right there for you guys in the offensive distance striking stats. 38% for Maria de Oliveira, which is actually yellow, so it's about average. And it's about 39.66% for Belbita, so a little bit better than Maria de Oliveira. And the TBB saying couldn't hit water if she was stranded in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and had an aim assist. Oh, that's great. Martin Dermov, my guy in the room. What's up, Martin? Good to see you hanging out in here saying, what's up, Weezy, my guy? Good luck to everyone this week. Let's get it, dude. Let's go. We got Lucas Olzawi in the room saying this card is whack. Let's cash money on the ass shaving of the week. I've already got a bet on the ass shaving of the week, so let's hope that it does cash. TBB saying take Belbita and make your money back. Let's beat the bookies, Weezy, says Daz. TBB saying, Daz, my guy, let's hit it. We got TBB saying, Fugitt. Yeah, man, Fugitt is not bad this week. We need to find out a little bit more about Mike Malott, but I like what I've seen out of Adam Fugitt so far, so I'm looking really forward to that main card fight, that pay-per-view fight between Malott and Fugitt, because I think it's going to be a really fun fight. And we got Justin J saying, howdy, Uncle Weezy. Hello, chat. We got Silky B saying, fight goes to round 2 almost every fight, except 2 or 3. Yeah, I could see a first-round finish in a couple of different fights here, but most of them, I don't see any chance of a first-round finish, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think you can – Silky B's been making monies with fight goes to round 2, like putting like 6 or 7 of them together in a big parlay and cashing them. Not my guy Nigel Lee is in the room saying, Uncle Weezy, my guy, in hoc signo vinces, says my guy Nigel Lee. That leads me to believe that he might be a Sigma Chi. Very good to have you hanging out, Nigel. Thanks for being here, brother. We got Martin Dermov saying Dante O'May smoking 3 blunts before a fight is minus 1,400. And my guy Martin knows this because the implied probability of that is about 92.5%, minus 1,400. My guy Martin, the money printer of MMA, getting the implied probability exactly matched to the line. Well done, Martin. That's why that dude cashes stack tickets. Why he stacks cash tickets like flapjacks every damn week. Daz Dillinger saying, Max betting Kai and losing like that? Fuck Chris Lee. Dude, that's brutal. It's an absolutely brutal loss. TBB saying, bet the house on the under. Hasn't got the cardio for it. Repercussions, says NHJ. 15-1, says TBB picks. Matthew Chalk saying, I like Ige and Bilder. Okay. TBB saying, Dvorak could get the first round, my guy. I don't think so, dude. I very highly doubt Dvorak's finishing anybody but a cokehead in the very first round in the UFC. Oh, my God. He actually did fight a cokehead. Juan Camilo Ronderos. Nigel Lee saying, yes, I am. Well, I am too, my man. So it's always good to have fellow Sigma Chi's here in the chat. TBB pick saying Erceg disappointing as hell if it stays on the feet. Yeah. Erceg doesn't do his best work on the feet. He definitely does his best work trying to get to his opponent's back. And Ige by KO, let's go, says Daz Dillinger. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Please hit that thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe, and let's get to work. Very first fight of the night, Diana Belbita versus Maria de Oliveira. So both of these ladies are young. Now, we haven't seen the best out of either one of them yet, but they're both young, both 26 years old. So we've got a little bit of a reach advantage here for Maria de Oliveira. We've got very similar experience numbers for both of these ladies. 21 pro fights for Belbita, 19 for Oliveira. Couple more minutes in the cage for Belbita. One more UFC fight, couple more minutes in the UFC cage. Neither one of these ladies has finished a win in the UFC. Both have been finished in their losses. 57% finish rate against overall for Belbita, 50% finish rate for Oliveira against. What both of these ladies do really well is throw a ton of volume. And we could see it here. We see a lot of green in the offensive distance striking stats here. Diana Belbita is landing 9.02 distance strikes per minute spent at distance. And for Maria de Oliveira, it's 8.41. Both of these ladies are throwing north of 22 distance strike attempts per minute spent at distance. Look at how big that is above the average. 8.95 above the average for Maria de Oliveira, 9.61 for Diana Belbita. So we know that about 13 distance strike attempts per minute is the average for women's strawweights. And both Diana and Maria are well above that number. They both have great differentials. Maria de Oliveira is landing 3.22 more significant strikes per minute than her opponents. And for Diana Belbita, it's 1.95. Neither one of these ladies is wrestling much. Both of them have 2 takedowns in 4 UFC fights for Belbita, 3 UFC fights for Oliveira. Both of them have had a lot of takedowns attempted against them. Both, as we can see, a bunch of red here, 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 and here, and here, here, and there, leads us to know that these ladies are not only getting less control time than the average, they're giving up more control time to their opponents than the average. And the ratio of control time positions, one, is below average. So neither one of these ladies is winning a lot in the grappling categories here. This is going to be a high volume striking match, most likely. They're similar in size, but it is Oliveira who's 1 inch shorter, but Belbita who's got a 1 inch reach disadvantage here. So I see this as being a high volume striking match. I see these ladies as being pretty well matched. And I see it as being a very even fight, which is exactly what the odds are telling us. Because I didn't get it up here for you guys, but right there it is. Diana Belbita, Maria Oliveira, a pick'em. This fight could go either way. And my analysis of what I've seen from both of these ladies is that it could go either way. However, Diana is at home. You know, she's a Romanian, but Romanian by way of Canada. You know, now she lives in Canada. So she is training with the people over there at Niagara Top Team. Her and Jasmine Jasudavicius. I believe Kyle the Monster Nelson. And I think Mike Mallott's been over there as well. So we got a lot of people in the same camp that are all getting ready for fights on the same day. So I think they're ready to go. Diana's going to be the hometown fighter. We haven't seen her in a minute. As far as the strength of schedule goes, neither one of them has impressive wins, but Maria's strength of schedule just a little bit better overall. But I do think that if there's one fighter that's more likely to win minutes in the grappling, it's going to be Diana Belbita. So I am picking her to win this one by decision. So let's get the picks up here. And let me see. Usually... Let me see if I can just find. I got to find out how to make the picks here. So UFC 289. Where does it say make picks? Am I tapped in? Oh, I'm not even tapped in. No wonder. All right. Technical difficulties, folks. So we're going to make the picks. And the very first pick is going to be Diana Belbita to win by decision. All right. Against Spider Girl Oliveira. The next fight, and let's see what you guys are saying in the chat before I go here. Yeah, high volume with only one of them landing. Cubs just blew a 4-run lead last leg of a plus 636 parlay. Come on, man. My Cubbies stink on ice this year, man. My guy Victor Jesus in the room, man. Oh, yes. What's up, Weezy in chat? What's up, Victor? Good to see you hanging in here. Lucas is in the room saying Silky B. Wow. Never thought of that over first round plays. That's interesting. Very good one. Daz saying Belbita's a former Muay Thai champion. Yeah, she can box. TBB saying Maria got high output, but bugger all accuracy to land. Neither one of them is very accurate. But Belbita's accuracy is a touch better. Belbita head moves as much as my house in the wind. Yikes. Daz saying Maria will be more athletic, but the striking will go to Belbita. High volume with only one of them landing. Belbita, more like Belbita bitch. Well, Belbiata bitch? I don't know. Yeah, Belbiata bitch. Okay. Daz, so is the Wish version Shevchenko. Maria body way open for those body hooks and kicks. Over round one looks good. Soki B for sure in this one. TB saying yes. Will Nunes be paid off again? We're going to find out on Saturday, aren't we? But the next fight that we're going to talk about is going to be David Dvorak, minus 275, going up against Astro Boy Steve Erceg at plus 235. Don't have a fight that goes to decision number here yet, but the under 2.5 is plus 140 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So let's get the stats up here. All right. There we go. So let's first start talking about David Dvorak's advantages. He's got the overall and UFC experience advantages. He's got 15 more professional fights in comparison to Erceg, almost 120 more minutes in the pro cage, and 5.5 more years as a professional fighter. He also has the UFC experience advantage with 5 more fights and over 62 minutes in the octagon, as Erceg will be making his short notice UFC debut, coming all the way from Australia to Vancouver for this fight. David's a solid striker. He doesn't take huge chances. He's very low volume, but he yields even less offense to his opponents. He should be the minute and moment winner as long as this fight is on the feet, as he will be the better striker. Steve Erceg does his best work in the grappling exchanges. And David's strength of schedule is much better than Erceg's. His last 2 opponents are top 10 flyweights, and he has a win over Bruno Silva in his UFC debut. So he's definitely fought the better brand of competition in comparison to Erceg. But for Steve Erceg, he's got nice measurables advantages in this spot. He's 3 years younger. He's 4 inches taller on paper, and he's got a 1.5-inch reach advantage. He's bouncing back and forth between the flyweight and bantamweight divisions in his career. So he's going to be the younger, bigger, and longer fighter here. I love Erceg's grappling and back takes. He can take your back standing, get there on the ground as well, and he has good body lock trips that he uses to try to get fights to the ground. He will also look for a guillotine and use that to get to the mount when he sweeps to get. He'll jump guillotine and then look to sweep and get on top with it. And Erceg is a strangulation expert. He's always looking to get to his opponent's back, and when his opponents get too aggressive with their striking and try to explode in with big shots, you'll see Erceg duck under and either go for the takedown or try to get to the back and pull his opponent on top of him after he laces the leg. Steve's a high-level grappler. So in summary, Erceg has taken this fight on just over a week's notice and making a long trip from Perth, Western Australia, all the way to Canada here. And Dvorak was initially slated to fight Matt Schnell. So David is a big favorite, as expected, but with the debutant making his UFC debut on short notice, it's not hard to understand why Dvorak would be a huge favorite here. I like Dvorak's striking advantage in this spot, and if the fight stays there, I think Dvorak will definitely win the minutes and potentially the moments as well. But if this does get into the grappling exchanges, and I definitely think it will, as Erceg definitely always sells out for the grappling and looks to get to his opponent's back, then I could see this fight playing out pretty close, as Erceg is the bigger and longer guy, and his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is very slick. I do have to favor Dvorak here, and I'm picking him to win by decision, but maybe Erceg by sub might not be the worst long shot stab of the week here. But we don't have any props open on this fight yet. So I'm going to go here to Tapology, and I'm going to pick David Dvorak to win this fight by decision. But the line on Erceg is very interesting, and I'm telling you guys, he's a good fighter. He's slick on the ground, and he knows where he does his best work, and he constantly tries to get fights to where he does his best work. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Looking forward to seeing the debut of Astro Boy here. I don't know if he's going to get it done or not, but we'll have to wait until Saturday to find out. But the pick is going to be David Dvorak by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. Nacho Bunny Chief is in the room saying, "Oi, what's up, man? We got TBB saying Erceg's chin is as strong as Colby's hand. Yeah, Erceg's been dropped a couple of times. David gets a finish, in my opinion. Steve is horrible. I don't think Steve's horrible. Erceg do a hip toss and end up on bottom 4 out of 5 times. Anyone Steve seen Steve Erceg's chin? Nope, says TBB. His BJJ is good. Yes. TBB saying Mans overextends on almost every shot, throws his shots from his shoulder, not his hip. TBB saying Dvorak's uppercut going to kill Erceg. Dvorak wider and solid takedown defense. Steve's cardio is concerning. Low-level competition. Debut fight. Horrible stand-up. David inside the distance. I think Steve's cardio is excellent. I think you're probably talking about the Cody Haddon fight, which he took up a weight class at 135 on short notice, less than a week's notice. He was a late notice opponent there for somebody up a weight class. So it looked like he got tired. At the end of the second round, his mouth was wide open in that fight, but he actually came out and won the third round against Haddon and wound up winning that fight. So don't sleep on Erceg's conditioning. I mean, look at that head. His tapology is the opposite of Macquan's. Yeah, it is. Oi, unlucky Weezy in the first round of Ark's Predictors tourney. Huh? Okay. I had a rough week last week. I was 5-8. So if people are keeping track, then that's a bad week. Joshua Max saying, "What's up, Weezy, with the locks this weekend?" Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, you mean these locks, or you mean the locks on the card? Because we're going to find out later as we go through who I think is going to be the lock, who I think is going to be the ass shaving of the week. Erceg cardio is so questionable. Disagree. Oi, Uncle Weezy says riffraff. TBB says my dog has better fight IQ and I don't have a dog. I do. His name's Bootsy and he's a Rottweiler. Orlando Crown saying giggity, giggity. So same situation as now, says TBB picks. All right, so Blake Bilder versus Kyle Nelson is the next fight that we're going to talk about here. And it is going to be Kyle Nelson plus 205, big underdog. And Kyle Nelson is the Canadian fighting at home, going up against Blake Bilder, minus 240. Fight doesn't go to decision right now, plus minus 190 for this fight. So let me get the stats up here for you guys. Nelson Bilder. And let's first start talking about Kyle Nelson's advantages in this fight. He's got nice measurables advantages in this fight, as he's surprisingly the younger fighter here. He's 9 months younger than Blake, and he's got a 3-inch height and a 3-inch reach advantage. Kyle is the much more experienced fighter. He's got 10 more pro fights, 80 more minutes in the pro cage, and about 6 more years as a professional fighter. In addition to that, he has more UFC level experience with 5 more fights and over 45 minutes more in the UFC cage in comparison to Bilder. And Kyle's fought the much better brand of competition over his career, especially in the UFC in comparison to Bilder. Definitely a step up in competition for Blake here. Now, Blake Bilder's advantage is he's a former Golden Gloves champ, so he definitely knows how to box. In the small sample size of 13 distance minutes against Shane Young, Blake has shown solid striking metrics. He's got a positive 2.12 distance striking differential. He's got a solid 59% distance striking defense. And he's got a 59% distance striking accuracy, which is excellent. He's landing an impressive 8.09 distance strikes per minute compared to only 4.97 for Nelson. Blake has got the way better distance accuracy in a small sample size here. And in addition, Blake's fight took place at striking range 88% of the time, while for Kyle Nelson, he's been in grappling positions more than half the time, and he's losing a lot of those grappling positions, as you can see there. Blake is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. 50% of his 8 career wins are by submission, and he definitely has a wide variety of attacks to go to on the ground. He even looked close to locking up a Gogo Plata in the Buena Fuente fight in CFFC. Blake is a guy who will also fight for your money. There's no quit in this kid. His heart is as big as a truck. He might be a slow starter sometimes, but he has great conditioning. He recovers quickly when he's rocked, and he turns up the volume as the fight goes on. I don't see the bright lights getting to this kid. His little brother took his own life a month before the Dana White Contender Series fight, and with that weighing heavy on his mind and heart, he went out there and finished Alex Morgan in the first round by club and sub. And in addition to that, Dude made his UFC debut in Australia. So this guy had to make his UFC debut with all the nerves, with everything that goes along with having that first fight under the bright lights. It's not in the Apex. It's 23 hours from home in Australia in front of a live, hostile crowd. And Blake Bilder went out there and won that fight 30-27 on 2 of the judges' scorecards. So very, very good performance by Blake against a UFC veteran in Shane Young, who's kind of like on the same level, in my opinion, as a guy like Kyle Nelson. So in summary, this is an interesting fight. Kyle's Canadian, so he will be the home fighter in this spot, and he definitely has some advantages on paper. He's the bigger and longer fighter, as well as being a bit younger. He's more experienced. He's fought a better brand of competition. Blake now, he's tough as a $2 steak. He's got fantastic conditioning. He's very dangerous when the fight hits the mat. This line doesn't make much sense to me, though. Blake being a minus 240 favorite feels entirely too wide when you consider the fact that Blake is less experienced, he's older, he's at a height and reach disadvantage. He hasn't fought the level of competition that Kyle has. I kind of like the over 2.5 rounds at plus money here. Kyle's been a lot less reckless lately, and if that trend continues, plus 130 for the over 2.5 rounds will probably be a gift. But I'm going to pick Blake Bilder to win this fight by decision. But the Nelson money line keeps getting more and more interesting the higher it goes. I am a big fan of this Bilder kid, and I think he's got enough to get by Kyle Nelson here, but the line is entirely too wide. And we've seen Nelson finish quite a few times before, so I don't really kind of have much of a feeling more of Bilder by decision or Bilder by inside the distance. So I'm just going to pick Bilder by decision, and I'm probably going to be staying away from this fight. But if I do make a bet, it'll probably be on the over 2.5 rounds here. If I think Kyle maybe kind of tries to close the distance, maybe put this up against the cage, get it into dirty boxing range, and kind of wear on Blake and try to win minutes that way. But yeah, Blake Bilder, Kyle Nelson, picking Bilder by decision, but not really sure what to do with that one. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Uncle Hefner in the house, says my guy Chris Kalanzis, another fellow Sigma Chi in the house, just like my guy Nigel Lee, just like me. Chris Kalanzis, also a graduate of the Harvard of the Midwest, Northern Illinois University. Riff Raff saying, oh, a new Weezy segment, Weezy's Locks. Is it the hair, though, or is it Weezy's Locks? There's no locks in MMA. The only locks on this show are the beautiful locks hanging from my head. So I don't know, but maybe we can figure it out. Always up for new segments. This fight, a betting travesty, dog or pass for me. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, TBB. As the fight goes, I got Nelson. Yeah, could be, but no money on this. Papa Chuck saying, shit, sorry, Unc, for the lack of attendance lately. I've been chasing my 1.5-year-old around, and my wife is 24 weeks pregnant. I hope that you and your lady have been doing well. Much love. Appreciate you, Chuck. You've got more important things going on at home, my man. You've got a family to raise, so always put that first, but it's always good to have you hanging out here in the chat with us. We got TBB saying Bilder loves the gas out. He's got a good gas tank, I think. AJ Worth saying Bilder to shave the ass of Nelson the bum. We'll see, man. We'll see. Heart over conditioning. My guy Lou Betty in the room saying, oh, what's up, Lou? Saying, only here for the knowledge wads. Weezy is dropping. You're damn right, dear. Here, goddammit. Yes. MMA Hedge Fund saying, what's up, Weezy? Bilder round 3 decision is plus money. Good spot to avoid the chalk. I could see a round 3 finish for Blake. I like his conditioning, so I could see that too, potentially. You wearing a robe, Weezy? Brilliant. It is not a robe. This is a smoking jacket, actually. So, yeah, not quite a robe, but a very, very classy, classic, too, garment here in the proverbial smoking jacket. Congrats, Papa Chuck. Creep in the room saying Bilder said he had bad jet lag last fight. Other than that, he's shown good cardio. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like dude, he could have had an adrenaline dump making his debut. There's nerves making your debut. 24-hour flight almost to Australia. And yeah, Bilder dealt with a lot in that Shane Young fight. You're mad saying, "What's up, brother? Hope the fights this weekend are great. My main event is Oliveira and Dariush. Mine too, brother. I mean, that's the best fight on the card by a mile." And then we got Riff Raff saying, "Y'all hit the like button while you're picking up what Weezy is laying down. Appreciate you, Riff Raff." Let's get into this next fight. It is going to be Aiemann Zahabi going up against Aori Qileng. We got Zahabi minus 103, Qileng minus 117. Fight doesn't go to decision, up at plus 135 here. So my money is going absolutely nowhere near this fight. And here's why. I have no idea who the fuck Aiemann Zahabi is as a fighter. I don't really even think that he's a fighter, because when I see 11 fights in 10 years, it shows me that you don't like to fight, plain and simple. You should not be that inactive, especially when your brother owns one of the biggest mixed martial arts gyms in the world, okay? So that's a very, very strange thing for Zahabi. He shows up once every 18 months to 24 months, puts on very mediocre performances. The guy is criminally low volume, but he is smart. He is opportunistic, and he can find a big shot. And when fights get to the ground, he's a very competent grappler, and he can find submissions. You know, the guy's only got 9 wins because he's only fought 11 times. But, you know, he's 7 of those 9 wins are finishes, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, and he's finished 1 of his 3 UFC wins. And with Qileng, you got a guy that's coming off of the Chinese regional scene. He's bouncing back and forth between flyweight and bantamweight. At bantamweight, he beat Cameron Else, who cares, and he beat Jay Perrin, but he was almost knocked out at the end of that fight. I'm not high on either one of these guys. I think Aiemann Zahabi is much more likely to finish this fight because I feel like he's more explosive. He's got better timing. He's more precise. But Aori Qileng is going to bring a fight. He's going to march forward. He's going to eat 1 or 2 to give 1, and he's probably going to be the harder hitter. He's going to be the scrappier dude. He's going to be the guy that just keeps coming forward and refuses to fuck off. So, I mean, it's an interesting fight. It's very close in the money line. As you can see, Qileng just a slight favorite here. Zahabi, another Canadian guy, the hometown fighter, so to speak. And we've seen in the Reginaldo Vieira fight, which was Aiemann Zahabi's UFC debut, he got a decision he probably didn't deserve. And I mean, I think if this fight goes to decision, always favor the Canadian. We've seen, like, there's a lot of commissions that tend to be homers. You know, people have said that. In my experience, the Canadian commission is the biggest homer commission. They will flat out hand fights to Canadian fighters that didn't win. That's what I've seen with my eyes in the past. I don't know if there's any actual evidence of that, but either way, I think Aiemann Zahabi maybe wins this fight by decision. But like, this guy Zahabi does so little on the feet, only 7.24 distance strike. I mean, you look at this here. This is red. This is red. This is yellowish. This is red. This is red, 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 red on volume here. You know, I mean, like, he's not doing much. He doesn't wrestle at all. He's going to get 0.25 takedowns per 15 minutes. His fights are standing 90% of the time, but he's only landed 2 knockdowns in 5 fights, and he's absorbed 1, and he throws about 10 less distance strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. So I'm going to go with Qileng on volume, just on pure volume, that he's going to do more, that he's going to look like he actually wants to win the fight. But my money is going nowhere near this fight, everybody. So I'm going Aori Qileng by decision in this one over the. Not only does he not fight often, Aiemann Zahabi, but when he does fight, he doesn't do much. So just the king of not doing a whole lot. Yeah, Qileng by decision. That's where we're going to leave that one. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. We got the The smoking jacket is a requirement for Weezy, international man of mystery, absolutely. And he's, not M-I-S-T, put that Y showing that, yeah, it's the M-Y-S-T-E-R-Y. Creep saying at TV Picture, brother, I always try to throw what I can out there. Artem asking, did I watch Tough? No, I did not. Please no Tough spoilers. I'll be watching that after the show tonight. And Artem saying, I like Aori Qileng. He's going to be more aggressive. Dude, that's the only reason that I'm picking him here is because you can look at how these guys square off, but the one thing you can absolutely guarantee, if there's going to be one guy that actually shows up and looks like he gives a shit, it's going to be Qileng, not Zahabi. Good split decision spot. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Moments, Zahabi, minutes, Aori equals split decision. I like that thought because I agree. Zahabi will be the moment winner most likely in this spot. TBBA, I can see Zahabi, but need more value before I make a decision. 0 units on that, and I'm right there with you with 0 units on that fight. Okay, the next fight that we're going to talk about is going to be Jasmine or Miranda Maverick minus 310 going up against Jasmine Jasudavicius plus 260. Fight doesn't go to decision. Big plus money number at plus 240. So let's get these stats up on the screen. And if you like these dynamic stats, they're available for only $10 a month on your Uncle Weezy's Patreon. Absolute best way to support me, support the work that I do so that I can continue putting it out here on YouTube for free every week. The link to the Patreon in the description of this video. Much love to anybody that signs up for the Patreon, and a big, big up to everybody that's already on the Patreon. All 60 of you. You guys are the ones that make sure that I show up here every damn week, and I thank you for your support. Now, this is an interesting fight, everybody, because the very first thing that we all know in the year 2023 is if you lay big juice on women's MMA, you have no ass hair left. I mean, with the exception of Karina Silva, last week, and with the exception of the other Silva against Victoria Leonardo 3 weeks ago, a lot of women's favorites are going out there shit in the bed. And Miranda Maverick is minus 310 here, coming off a win over Shanna Young. Let me get a sip of my absolutely lovely beverage. By the way, let me just quick little plug for my people over at Hop Butcher Brewery, the Unwind Your Mind, one of my favorite double dry hopped IPAs with a Mosaic, Motueka, and El Dorado hops. A double IPA with tasting notes of bright citrus, lychee, and dank tropical fruits. An absolutely beautiful way to sip on a delicious beverage while we break down UFC 289 fights so we can stack cash tickets like flapjacks, everybody. Oh, that's good. I need another sip. Let's go. Miranda Maverick, Jasmine Jasudavicius. So let's first talk about Miranda Maverick's advantages. Miranda's over 8 years younger, and that's statistically significant. Miranda is a southpaw in a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Another thing that's statistically significant. They're winning at a statistically significant rate. Miranda's got the overall and the UFC experience advantages. She's had 5 more professional fights, 40 more minutes in the professional cage, and 3.5 more years as a pro fighter. And she also has 3 more UFC fights and over 25 more minutes in the UFC octagon. Miranda will be the more opportunistic finisher in this spot. She's the superior submission grappler, and she's the better striker as well. So even though neither of these ladies has ever been finished, it's Miranda with a 50% UFC finish rate that will be the fighter more likely to finish the fight here. Maverick has the superior striking in this matchup. Her UFC distance striking differential is 1.95. So that means that she's landing 1.95 more significant strikes per minute than she absorbs. And it's negative 3.81 for Jasmine Jasudavicius at distance. She lands 3.3 and absorbs 7.11 strikes per minute at distance. So we've got a 39% accuracy for Maverick, only 32% accuracy for Jasmine Jasudavicius. We just see stacks of red here everywhere in the distance striking category, we see that Jasmine Jasudavicius is below the women's flyweight average, while Miranda Maverick is either average or above average everywhere. So while this fight is on the feet, it's going to be Miranda Maverick. She's not like this awesome, top-notch flyweight striker, but she's better than Jasmine at distance. So, and she's a lot more defensively responsible, too. Look at that, 64.5% defense compared to 53% for Jasmine. And the volume is much better as well, 15.5 distance strike attempts per minute compared to 10 for Jasmine. Both of these ladies spend more than half of their UFC cage time in control time positions, though, so perhaps the striking numbers aren't as important in this fight. Miranda has got 6 professional wins by submission, so when this fight does hit the ground, it'll be Miranda who's most likely the better moment winner while it's there, especially if she can get on top. And Maverick's faced the better brand of competition at the UFC level and on the regional scene. She's fought and beaten the much better and more experienced UFC opponents thus far in her UFC career. Jasmine Jasudavicius is the much bigger flyweight. She's 4 inches taller than Miranda, and she's got a 3-inch reach advantage. And she's an excellent, excellent minute winner with her wrestling, top control, and ground and pound. She averages 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is above average, as we can see right here. She's got a 72% takedown defense, and she allows less than 6% control time against. And she's winning 89% of the control time positions that she's been in so far in the UFC. So almost 53% of Jasmine's fights take place in control time positions. So she's doing a fantastic job of winning minutes in control time positions with her freestyle wrestling base and dominant top control. So this looks like a solid spot on paper for Miranda Maverick. She's much younger. She's the better striker. She's the better submission grappler. And she's fought and beaten the much better brand of competition. That being said, this fight will probably come down to who wins in the clinch and who can get to dominant positions either in the clinch or on the ground. And that, my friends, is where Jasmine Jasudavicius does her best work. She's going to be bigger and potentially stronger, and I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume that her wrestling is better than Miranda's. So if Jasmine can be the better wrestler, get this fight to the ground, and find herself in dominant positions, then she has a path to victory winning this fight by decision. And if she can find success with her wrestling in this spot, Jasmine by decision at around a number close to plus 400, in my opinion, is or better, is a bet that I would be taking a long look at this week, because I do think that that's a path to victory for her, but I still have to lean Maverick to win this fight by decision due to her striking, her experience, and her strength of schedule advantages. Maverick by KO could also be a sneaky long shot prop this week because Jasmine's distance striking is terrible. You see that 32% accuracy. You see only that 53% distance striking defense, absorbing 7.11 distance strikes per minute. So if this fight does stay on the feet, I actually took a very, very, very small shot, 0.1 units on a Miranda Maverick to win this fight by KO at plus 1,200, because I think if she's able to keep the fight on the feet, she might actually knock out Jasmine late in this fight because she is the much better striker. But Jasmine's been very, very good at getting her fights in control time positions. We can see she's getting 47% control time for, only allowing 5%. So if more than half of this fight takes place in control time positions, in my opinion, Jasmine's going to be very live to win this fight. And that plus 260 is going to be a ticket that you're going to want to be holding if this is mostly a grappling match. The pick is going to be Miranda Maverick to win by decision. But like I said, I'm waiting for these props to open on DraftKings and FanDuel and Caesars. And if I can find Jasmine by decision at plus 400 or better, I'm going to be betting it. And I might even go as high as a half unit to try to win too, because I absolutely think that she's live to be the one getting the takedowns to win minutes in the clinch. And if she does get takedowns, her head position, her ability to be able to control her opponent and keep her there is very, very good. So, yeah, the pick with very little confidence is going to be Miranda Maverick by decision. But like I say, the bet that I'm planning on making is Jasmine Jasudavicius by decision. And that brings us to the last fight on the prelims, which is going to be Chris Curtis versus Nassourdine Imavov. This is going to be a great fight. Got a lot of comments here in the chat. We got Broke Native saying, what's up, Unc? We got Daz saying Jasmine by decision. I like this, Weezy. Dude, if we can get a better number, because right now, Bet Online is hanging like plus 300. I think we might be able to get like plus 400 on it. Whether DraftKings hangs it, FanDuel, Bet Rivers, somebody like that's going to give us a good prop on this. Jasmine by decision, maybe in Canada with Canadian judges. Absolutely. Nigel Lee saying, although Maverick is by far the more handsome fighter, her money line is really inflated. I can't bet her at that price. She simply doesn't have the track record to back up that number. I couldn't agree more. Jasmine at this price is worth a sprinkle for sure. Agree that completely, you guys. Everyone seems to be on Jasmine value. Good luck with that. This is the level of fighter Maverick beats, and that is also correct. Yes, but what if Jasmine lands takedowns, man? That's the thing. Because if she lands takedowns, she's absolutely going to be live. And Imavov in trouble if he doesn't fight outside the pocket. I couldn't agree more. So let's talk about that fight. We got Nassourdine Imavov is the favorite, minus 152. Chris the Action Man Curtis, plus 132. Fight doesn't go to decision, plus money at plus 120 here. So let me get my notes up here. And let me get a sip of this delicious beverage before we break down the main event of the prelims here. And let's first start talking about Nassourdine Imavov's advantages in this spot. He's got nice measurables advantages over Chris, which most people do because Chris really is more of a natural welterweight that fights up at middleweight. So 7.5 years younger is Nassourdine Imavov, and he's also 5 inches taller than Chris Curtis. So going to be the bigger dude and the younger dude here. And he's the more willing wrestler, and he's shown the ability to win minutes and rounds with his ground game. He showed great front chokes in the Shabazian fight, and he methodically worked to a dominant position. He got the crucifix, and he landed nasty elbows to get the TKO. So we know that Imavov can perform really well on the ground. Now, Chris Curtis has got a massive experience advantage in this spot. He's got 24 more professional fights and 370 more minutes in the pro cage. He's got 6.5 more years as a pro fighter. And he's done a great job of winning moments in the pocket boxing exchanges. Key word there being pocket. Both Imavov and Curtis are low volume. They look to land big shots, but Curtis has landed 3 UFC knockdowns, and every one of them led to a knockout win, while Imavov is still looking to land his first UFC knockdown. But he does have 2 wins by KO, a standing KO win over Ian Heinisch and a ground and pound TKO win over Edmund Shabazian. Now, Curtis does a great job of keeping fights standing, which is where he wants them and where he does his best work. Curtis has 100% takedown defense against a whopping 35 attempts, so it's safe to say that he's incredibly difficult to take down. 0 takedown attempts, 35 takedown attempts against, yet he's only giving up less than 6% control time and getting only 2.3%. So really successful, keeping his fight standing 91.91% of the time. So Chris is basically a pure boxer, but he's also using his wrestling and grappling in reverse to keep fights standing, which is where he does his best work, where he's most comfortable. And according to my strength to schedule metric, Chris has fought and beaten the better brand of competition at the UFC level. As we can see, Imavov is fighting guys with about 8.67 total fights, while for Curtis, it's more than that with 11.17. The win-to-loss ratio of Imavov's opponents overall is 1.36 to 1. It's 1.79 to 1 for Chris Curtis. And if you look at the guys that Imavov's beating, combined record in those 4 wins of 13 wins and 14 losses, while in Chris Curtis's 4 wins, he's beating guys that have got 21 wins and 10 losses. So a big 2.5 to 1 ratio of wins to losses against. So very impressive what Chris Curtis is doing, winning fights at this level. So in summary, this is going to be a barn burner of a stand-up war. Neither of these guys is the most active wrestler, and the guy that has shot for takedowns, Imavov, will be fighting a guy who has stuffed 35 consecutive takedown attempts. So maybe wrestling isn't the best idea for Imavov. I think I like Curtis here. Neither one of these guys has been the most potent minute winner at distance striking range, because Curtis is more of a defensively responsible counter striker, while Imavov is more of a low-volume sniper who is less defensively responsible than Curtis is. I think Curtis will be the more durable fighter. I know he's more experienced, and I know that he's fought and beaten a better brand of competition because he's demonstrated the ability to find those moments more consistently than Imavov. So I'm going to pick him to win here and be the first person to KO Nassourdine Imavov. I'm picking the action man, Chris Curtis, to win this one by 3rd round knockout. I love Chris Curtis's durability. He is absolutely virtually impossible to finish. So I think we're going to really see Imavov's durability tested. I don't see Imavov going through this fight with the type of game plan that we saw the guys that beat Curtis take, which is be evasive, run, be a sniper from distance, because Imavov really does try to hurt his opponents. He's not a dancer. He's not a great lateral mover. He kind of moves in straight lines and he throws in combination. And I think once you start throwing in combination, that's when Curtis gets comfortable throwing those counter strikes. And I think that Curtis is going to be the more powerful guy. I think he's the less likely guy to get knocked down. And if that's the case, and I can't count on Imavov to win minutes with the grappling exchanges here, I got to go with the guy that's beaten the better guys, that's shown more power, and that has shown the ability to be able to land that big shot. Because even if he doesn't, I'm not sure who's winning the minutes, because Imavov hasn't shown to be this fantastic minute winner at this range yet. So Chris Curtis, by 3rd round knockout, the action man, is going to be the pick here. And that brings us to the main card, where we've got 5 fights left to talk about. See what you guys are saying in the chat here. Going the distance, says Daz. I agree, that probably does, but I think the over 2.5 is better because I could see a late finish by Curtis here. Daz saying if you back Imavov and you see him go for a takedown, it's over. What bothers me about Curtis, he's very slow starter. Yes, he can't afford to lose the first round in this fight. Then we hear the crying from him after the fight. Or walk into the pocket, rip your ticket up. Yeah, man, that's for sure. We got can kiss the floor, definitely not winning the pocket. But yeah, H3 was robbed of it. Yeah, it was a close Gastelum fight for sure. That could have went either way. But before we get into the next fight, how about we do a story time with Uncle Weezy, you guys? It's been a minute. It's a pay-per-view card. There's 51 of you in here. So why not give one of the best segments on this show when I choose to do it, story time with Uncle Weezy. So let's talk about the Don'Tale Mayes race, because a lot of people were probably like, why is Weezy challenging Don'Tale Mayes to a race? And it's because I think Don'Tale Mayes is slow. And it's not just because he's slow. It's because I'm slower. And I want to prove that I'm less slow than a professional athlete like Don'Tale Mayes. So when I was a kid, I grew up playing soccer. My dad's from Greece. My grandmother on my mother's side is from Denmark. Everybody loves soccer in Europe. They call it football there, right? And my grandfather, my dad's dad, played. He was the starting goalie for Panathinaikos back in the 30s, before he got his wife pregnant, and before they had my dad, and before the Germans started trying to invade Greece, where they wound up sending my grandfather to the front lines to make sure that the paratroopers didn't go over their head. But they did, and they eventually got through the Greeks. But either way, my grandfather played professional soccer in Greece. My dad grew up playing soccer until he came to this country, went to Hyde Park High School, and then they didn't even have a soccer team. So that was the end of his career. But I grew up playing soccer until about the age of 13 when I was about to go into high school, when I just got sick of running because I'm fucking slow, you guys. I'm very slow. I'm not a great athlete. I don't have this great athletic slim build, I got big fucking legs. I got a big fucking ass, wide hips. I've got no footwork at all. I've got no fleetness of foot. I've got no grace. I am not like a gazelle. Like when my feet hit the ground when I'm running like a Welshman. I got a wide stance, bent knees. You can hear each foot hit the ground like it's a slab of marble being dropped 3 stories off of a building. So it was something that I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't play soccer anymore. I had to switch to a sport where there wouldn't be nearly as much running. And that's baseball, ladies and gentlemen. I used to have a friend named Brian who played varsity baseball, and, he loved baseball. So we'd go out there. He lived really close to a baseball field. We'd go out there and we'd hit grounders at each other, hit fly balls to each other, just kind of learn how to play the game. But I never grew up playing baseball, but I got so sick of running that I wound up playing baseball. All right. So this is, I believe, 7th grade and 8th grade when I actually made my debut in 7th grade, playing my first year of baseball. So because I was late to the sport, there were the things that I would do with my friend Brian when we'd practice. And, I knew how to catch. I knew how to throw. I could pitch and I could play defense because I was used to him hitting ground balls at me, telling me to keep my ass down, stay in front of the ball. And he would just hit them at me until I refused to, let them go by. I wouldn't let anything go to the sides. I'd get my body in front of it. I'd keep my ass down. I learned how to play good defense in the infield. I learned how to catch fly balls. I learned how to pitch. I had a great overhand curve, but I couldn't hit. I couldn't hit at all. And I couldn't run either, right? So it was tough. We were on winning teams and I could do things to help the team win. I could pitch. I could play third base. I could play second base, but I couldn't play shortstop. Definitely not quick enough for that, right? But either way, did pretty well, right? But I still had those holes in my game. Couldn't hit, couldn't run. So, but did well 7th grade, 8th grade. And then when I went to high school, decided to play baseball freshman year. Had a great team, had a great coach by the name of Mr. Nelson. He was a ball buster and he was fucking hilarious. But he used to bust my balls for being slow and not being able to hit. And he would just bust them all the time. And he was really funny and he would get big laughs at my expense. And I'd kind of shoot back at him. We had a great rapport. I loved this dude. He was a great coach. And so one game, we're playing on the road, right? It's us and the senior team. And the JV team and the sophomore team are at home and they're playing the other guys, right? So it's us and the seniors, and I'm a freshman. And the game is coming to an end, and the seniors had already finished their game. They had won. So now they come over to our field and they're watching us. So we've got the opponent's senior team watching, our senior team is watching, and we're playing. And I get put into the game late. I wasn't usually starting because I couldn't hit. But if I was out there, I'd be batting 9th, and I would be either playing third base, second base, or I'd be pitching, right? So close game, the pitcher's dying near the end of the game, and they bring me in to get a couple guys out at the end of the 6th, and then we're going to be up in the top of the 7th, and we're losing the game, right? So I go out there and I get the last 2 outs of the inning. I caught dudes with a big overhand curveball, struck them out. And my coach told me, he's like, yeah, I stuck you in like cleanup on the lineup because actually 5th was leading off, right? So he was like, I wanted you last so that you wouldn't bat, right? And I'm like, fine, I don't want to bat. I suck up there. So the innings going on and on and on. Now we get a little bit, I think we've actually tied the game. And now it's coming to the point where we're almost at the 9th batter. And I come up with 2 outs in the inning, we're down 1 run and the bases are loaded. And I mean, you remember that clip of Megan Anderson when she was walking in and they got her in the hallway and she's walking and she's going to be fighting Amanda Nunes that night. And she's got that 1,000-mile stare and she looks like she's walking to her execution. That's me walking up to the plate. The kid that's pitching is throwing heat. He's like 6'3", and I'm like 5'8" because I'm a freshman. And this guy's throwing sinker balls and they're moving and they're coming in fast. So I go up there and I've got the bat on my shoulder and I'm saying, I am not swinging at any of this shit. I hadn't even hit a ball out of the outfield or out of the infield in weeks. So I'm like, I'm going to let this prick walk me. Please let him not throw strikes. So first pitch, low in the dirt, ball 1. Second pitch, low in the dirt, ball 2. Third pitch, low in the dirt, ball 3. The catcher asked me, you going to take that bat off your shoulder? I said, I'll take it off my shoulder when he starts throwing strikes. And the ump kind of laughs and he's like, dude, just play, right? I'm like, so I turn back to the ump. I'm like, what? He goes, it's a baseball game. Go out, play, swing. I'm like, what do you mean swing? Are you giving me advice? And I'm thinking to myself, why the hell is the ump even talking to me? So then the next pitch comes in and it's outside and it's low, but he calls it a strike. I kind of look back and I'm like, all right. That wasn't a strike, but I'm not fucking swinging. Second pitch comes in now he got one over the plate, right? So now it's 3-2, and I'm like, oh fuck, I might have to swing here, right? But I don't want to. And everybody's watching. You know, I can really feel the pressure. And this is not, I mean, like if I'm the one on the mound, I'm good with it. If I'm the one in the field and the ball gets hit to me, I'm good with it. But if I'm at the plate trying to get a hit, I am not good with it. I am not comfortable. I am not a good hitter, right? So bat's on my shoulder, and what I'm doing, my strategy is that I'm looking to swing. And I have no fucking intention of swinging because I'm smart. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm bad at. I'm not hitting the ball, right? So he winds up and I'm looking like I want to fucking hit this thing out of the park. And then I just keep the bat on my shoulder. Ball comes in low, skips in, hits the fucking home plate, and I walked. That run's going to come in. And as I just go to throw the bat, I hear strike 3. And I stop. I freeze. And I hear there's this silence. The ball hit the plate. It wasn't even, didn't even get thrown to the catcher, right? It hit the plate. This guy calls me out on strike 3. And because it hit the plate, it skipped past the catcher. And it goes past him all the way to the backstop, which is probably 30 feet at least behind home plate. And I'm there with the bat on my shoulder, and I throw it to the side, and I turn back and I go, did you call that a strike? And he goes, strike 3. And then I look at my bench, and I'm trying to find my coach. I lock eyes with my coach, and I go like this, and I hear like this noise, this crazy noise, right? And I'm like, what is going on? And then I realize as I'm looking at my coach, and then I start to like pan back from the coach's face, everybody's telling me, run. And because it's a third strike, the catcher has to catch it. So if the ball is called strike 3 and the catcher doesn't catch it, you struck out, but you have the opportunity to run to first base. And if you beat the throw to first base, you're safe and the inning goes on. So I realized this because I was so caught up in the fact that I just got called out on strike 3 by a pitch in the fucking dirt by an umpire who had just told me 2 pitches ago to start swinging because he probably has dinner reservations and wants to get out of there. So I have to start running to first base. And because everybody was already yelling run, I'm super conscious about how fucking slow I'm going. I feel like my feet are made out of lead. They're hitting the ground. Big piles of dirt are fluffing up from the ground as I'm running down the first base line like molasses in January, slower than shit. I actually hear Coach Nelson yell and I quote, "Get the piano off your back, Weezy." And I'm moving now. I'm even more self-conscious. I'm even moving slower, and I'm just trying as hard as I can to get down to first base. And as I'm getting closer, I see the first baseman. I see that he sees the ball coming. I'm about 4 steps away. He's reaching out his glove. I'm hauling as fast as I can, trying not to be the guy that fucks this up. That ball hits the glove. I'm out by a step. Out number 3, we lose the game due to the fact that I'm the slowest high school freshman in the entire state of Illinois. And everybody is fucking watching. The seniors are there. The freshman guys on my team are there like, what the fuck was that? Why didn't you just run? Even like the school that we're playing, like they come running out on the field because that catcher made like 140-foot throw from the backstop to first base that beat me by a step because I'm slower than shit. And we lost the game, and it was all my fault. And I'm just sitting there looking at everybody like, what the fuck just happened? Did I just get called out? A strike 3 on a pitch in the dirt? My coach didn't back me at all, didn't argue with the ump at all, just was like, what the hell did you do there? And now we got to do the bus ride home, and I got a bunch of seniors like, what the fuck was that? I got everybody on my team going, what the fuck was that? You didn't run down to first. And when we're all on the bus, getting ready to head home, I got my coach Nelson pointing me out saying, this is what happens when you don't have your head in the game. This is what happens when you make mistakes. This is what happens when you don't know the rules of the game. And now everybody's looking at me being like, how did you fuck that up? And now I feel like I have the obligation to defend myself. And I stand up and I say, hey, it's a 3-2 count. The bases are loaded. We're down by 1 run. And this prick throws a fucking pitch in the dirt. Am I supposed to fucking swing at it? And no way. I can't hit for shit anyway. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. The only guy who didn't do what he was supposed to do was the fucking ump who had dinner reservations who called me out on a pitch in the dirt. You all should be kissing my fucking hairy beanbag because I'm the one who was smart here. Yeah, I can't help it that I'm slow. I can't help it that I got a fat ass and that my time from 0 to first base is about 14 and a half seconds. It's not my fault. But unfortunately, I got blamed for it, you guys. So that's what happened. That's how slow I am. Even when I was 15 years old, my coach would yell, get the piano off your back, running from home to first. So, but even with all that, you guys, I still believe that I can beat Dante O'Mays in a 50-yard dash. Give me one 50-yard dash. I got 1 race left in me. It's got to be on concrete so my feet can bounce off and I can go as fast as humanly possible. But I honestly think that your Uncle Weezy at 49 years old with a bad back, a fat ass, and feet like lead and a piano on his back could beat that dude in a 50-yard dash. So that is story time with Uncle Weezy for UFC 289. Appreciate you guys. Let's get into the main card here, which is going to be starting with Marc-Andre Barriault at -124, going up against Eryk Anders at +104. The fight doesn't go to decision, +100. So this is an interesting one. We've got Marc-Andre Barriault's advantages. He's 3 years younger than Eryk Anders. He should be the better minute winner at distance striking range, and I base this claim purely on volume. Mark is attempting 14.72 distance strike attempts per minute, while for Anders, it's only 7.87. So Barriault throws and lands more because of the massive volume he puts out there, and because his distance striking defense is almost 60%, while Anders is only about 55%. So that's why you see the nice green numbers here for being above average for distance strikes landed and attempted, while you see the numbers being below average here in differential ratio, strikes landed and strikes attempted for Eryk Anders. And then Mark's conditioning has also been one of his biggest weapons alongside of his durability. We've seen him use his conditioning as a weapon before, put a pace on his opponents that they can't handle and break them late in fights like he did against Azaitar, Wright, and Marquez. The dirty boxing he showed in the Marquez and Wright fights was really, really nasty. So I kind of feel like Eryk Anders is a guy we've seen go into the clinch a lot. But I think that if he goes there with Mark, he might get busted up with elbows. Now, Eryk Anders' advantages, your boy's got a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Your boy's got the slight overall and UFC experience advantages. He has one more fight. He's got over 20 more minutes in the pro cage, and he's been slightly more active as a professional. Eryk also has the UFC experience advantage with 5 more fights and 70 more minutes in the octagon. Now, Eryk has serious power. He's landing a knockdown on 1.89% of the distance strikes he lands compared to 0.51% for Barriault. Eryk has 7 UFC knockdowns compared to 2 from Mark. All of Eryk's 4 UFC finishes are by KO, so Mark is going to have to watch out for the power of Anders. And Anders will work his wrestling and clinch control games to win minutes. He's a huge middleweight, so he likes to wear on his opponents in the clinch and work the wrestling so he can try to get that marble slab of a body on top of his opponents. Eryk has attempted 72 takedowns in 15 UFC fights, and he's out-controlling his opponents, as we can see right here, 25% to about 9%, winning almost 75% of the control time positions that he's been in. And Barriault has been known to get taken down and lose minutes on the ground and on the fence, like he did in the Anthony Hernandez fight, Jun Yong Park fight, Krzysztof Jotko fight, and the Sanchez fight. Eryk also has a slight edge in overall strength of schedule, and his wins against opponents like Kyle Dawkins, Darren the Dentist Stewart, Gerald Mearshart, Vinicius Mojera, Tim Williams, Marcus Perez, and Rafael Natal are a little bit better than Barriault's wins. They're over Abu Azaitar, Dalcha Lungiambula, Jordan Wright, and Julian Marquez. So this is a very interesting fight between 2 experienced and tested middleweights. I can see Barriault having more success at distance striking range with his pressure, pace, and volume. Barriault's dirty boxing will also serve him well in the clinch exchanges of this fight. If Anders is able to get his wrestling and clinch control game going, he can wear on Barriault and win minutes that way. But I'm not sure if that'll work against Barriault, who has a nasty clinch game of his own, and he's less likely to wilt under Anders' pace than the other way around. I'm picking Marc-Andre Barriault to win this fight by decision, everybody. I think that he's going to have I think Anders is going to have a hard time taking him down and holding him down. And I think while it's at distance, Barriault's pressure is going to be a big deal. And if he does walk forward, I don't think we're going to see Anders land those big shots. And we'll see Marc-Andre Barriault cruise to a decision here. All right. Let's see what you guys are up to in the chat here. Let's see. Shit coach says TBP picks. Justin says, love story time. Everyone was against Mays and he smoked them, like everyone but diehard MMA. I picked Mays to win the fight, but I didn't bet it. Team of Destiny is the Heat in 2023, but that wasn't because Dante good, because Arlovsky got too comfortable and ain't pulled his hand back. Diehard got the win, but not a good bet. I mean, it was a good bet. It cashed. Malarkey had a better coach than you did. God damn. If I'll throw $50 on you to win the 50-yard dash. What are the odds on that? We're going to have to find out what the odds are because Dante has not signed the contract yet. So until he signs the contract, there's not going to be any odds because there's officially no race. But like I say, you guys, I am slow. I'm 49. But I think I'm faster than Dante Mays, man. 1.01. Fight Talk only saying, sup, T.O. Weezy. What's up, man? Good to see you in here. I can't believe you didn't make it to first base. I made it to first base, just not before the catcher threw the ball there, thanks to my willingness to argue with the umpire for the shit call rather than do what I was supposed to do. That has to be the best story in the history of stories. It was a shit story for me, dude. That was rough. I felt like a fucking asshole after that. He made baseball sound fun. Not for him on that bus for sure, man. This fight ends late, if not distance. I agree with that. Yes. Zero action here for you, says TBB. Golden Octagon saying, oh, yes. Aldana's left hook is going to smoke Nunes like Weezy treats the Blue Dream. Love it, dude. Daz Dillinger laughing. I love it, man. All right. You guys, the next fight is going to be Dan Ige at minus 250 going up against this guy right here. Ladies and gentlemen, Nate the Train Landwehr squaring off against Dan 50K Ige. Has there ever been a boring Nate the Train Landwehr fight? Are we in for a treat on Saturday with this card that is with this fight that is going to be kicking off or the second fight on the pay-per-view card? I think we're in for a real treat here. So let's break it down, everybody. Let's see. First, let's talk about Dan 50K Ige. He's not as good on the mic as one Nate the Train Landwehr, but he is 3 years younger than Nate. He's got the experience advantage. He's got one more professional fight. He's got 20 more minutes in the pro cage, and he's been more active as a pro. He also has the UFC experience advantage with 7 more fights and 110 more minutes in the UFC octagon. Dan Ige has one-punch knockout power, everybody. He's landed 4 UFC knockdowns, and 3 of his 8 UFC wins are by knockout. So while Nate has never landed a UFC knockdown or won a UFC fight by knockout, so I'd say it's pretty clear that Ige has the power and the moment-winning advantage while this fight is on the feet. Ige is extremely durable. He's never been finished in his 22-fight pro career, and he's been in there with some of the best in the world. And Dan has fought the overall better level of competition in the UFC as the win-loss ratio of his opponents, as we can see here, is 1.53 compared to 1.28 for Nate Landwehr. And he's definitely lost to the better fighters, as we see a 2.19 win-to-loss ratio in the guys that are beating Ige, while it's actually a less than 1 for Nate Landwehr. Now, for Nate Landwehr, what are his advantages, right? Well, he's got a highlight reel like this man right here, Evel Knievel. See that rocket? See that man there jumping over a bunch of cars and buses on his motorcycle? And for a lot of people who ask me, and this is a question that I get quite often, everybody, what's wrong with the youth of today, Uncle Weezy? Well, I will give you an answer that I think makes the most sense out of anything. It's that they don't have an interest in danger anymore. Guys like Evel Knievel, when I was growing up, those were your heroes. Right, you got a bunch of panty wastes who are out there whining about their feelings and about gender pronouns and things like that. Let me tell you something. You want to make this country great again? We need more people taking an interest in danger, like the people who are stepping into this cage. You think Nate Landwehr is concerned about danger? We need more people looking up to Nate Landwehr. We need more people looking up to Dan 50K Ige because they take an interest in danger. That fine line between daredevil and dumbass that so few people can walk with any kind of dignity. Well, we got two people who are going to be walking with that kind of dignity today. You know, what else do we like about Nate Landwehr? He's got swagger like Elvis Presley. Gotta love that. I'll be damned if he's not the more handsome fighter here. Nate is 2 inches taller. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. The Train is the higher volume striker at distance, throwing 14.59 distance strike attempts per minute compared to 10.38 for Dan Ige. He's landing 6.55 distance strikes per minute compared to only 4.27 for Ige. And he's almost 4% more accurate than Dan Ige is. Nate is so efficient in the grappling exchanges. His takedown defense has always been excellent. Look at that number right there. 86%, stuffing 19 of 22 takedown attempts against. In addition to that, Nate has been 62.5% accurate on his takedown attempts compared to the 22% accuracy for Ige. Nate's attempted 8 UFC takedowns, and his opponents have attempted 22. However, Nate has 5 takedowns, and his opponents only have 3. So Nate is out-controlling his opponents 18.6% to 8.6%, and he's winning over 68% of the control time positions that he's been in. So, in summary, this is going to be a fun fight, like every Nate the Train fight. I do favor Dan Ige here, though, quite a bit. His power is a game changer, and the level of competition these guys have faced at the UFC level really favors Ige. I'm not sure whether Nate is better than Dan. I'm not sure where Nate is better than Dan. Ige can't be broken, so I don't see Nate wearing him out. I see Dan landing the bigger shots, and I don't think we can count on Nate to win enough minutes in the grappling exchanges to make up for the power and strength of schedule advantages that Dan Ige has here. So I think Dan is going to find Nate's chin and win this fight by knockout, guys. So the pick is going to be Dan Ige to win this fight actually by first round knockout, which is how we've seen Nate Landwehr lose both of his fights where he got finished in at the UFC level. And Dan Ige is a guy who's got a ton of power, just as Damon Jackson, just as Governor Tucker, and they will tell you that this guy hits like an absolute truck. So Dan Ige by first round knockout is the pick. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Dude, we've got like 37 comments since I put the Nate the Train video up there. We got Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. I've been riding the train for his last few, but Ige is like a nightmare matchup for him. Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. Nate the Train, Nathaniel the Conductor Landwehr, no volume. Nate the Train. Uncle Dana, yes, sir, Dana. And I look pretty damn good, too. Yes, he does, man. Choo-choo, home on the KO train, Nate. Let's go. What did he say? Can't hear. Oh, you can't. Oh, shit. No sound? Damn, dude. There's no audio? Oh, man. That sucks. Dude, that's too bad. I can't believe that because there was definitely that audio. Let me know if you can hear. Damn, no audio. Damn, I wish the audio was working. It's my mic. My mic must not be picking up the sound. That's a real shame because these mics are directional and you have to speak into the right part of them. So I think what happened there is that it's not working, so you can't hear it. But trust me, go to Moiz _audio on Twitter you're going to find this video, and it is an absolute classic, everybody. I wish we could have got the sound on that, man. It would have been so awesome. All right, you guys, let's move on to this next fight, which is going to be Mike Malott minus 205 against Adam Fugitt plus 175. Fight doesn't go to decision, up in minus 325 for this fight. All right, let's get these stats up here. And there we go. Let's talk about this absolute banger of a fight. Mike Malott, 3 years younger than Adam Fugitt. Both of these guys are fantastic finishers. However, Malott fights like he's double parked. He's got a 100% finish rate in his wins, and his average fight time in an 11-fight sample size is 3.12 minutes, and he's just as dangerous with his submissions as he is with his striking. He's a very opportunistic finisher. Mike is very clean and a very technical striker. He coached striking at Team Alpha Male, and his metrics in a small sample size of 6 minutes look excellent. He's got a positive 2.85 differential at distance and over 55% accuracy, which is excellent. And he even has a knockdown and a UFC win by knockout. And Mike Malott is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and extremely dangerous and opportunistic with his finishes. Whether he lands a big shot and jumps on his opponent's back and gets a no-hooks rear naked choke like he did against Solomon Renfro, or whether his opponents shoot a sloppy takedown and he snatches up a power ghillie like he did versus Shimon Smotrysky, or whether he gets a body lock takedown directly into half guard, sets up an arm triangle with such a squeeze from half guard that Johan Leones freaked out and let Mike pass the side control, and he immediately tapped. Mike is clean and opportunistic on the ground, and he's got multiple ways to finish you. Now, Adam Fugitt is going to be the longer dude here. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. He's very big and long for the division. He's listed as the same height as Mike Malott, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fugitt was taller. He's always been a welterweight, while Mike Malott started his pro career at featherweight. Adam's got a little bit of an experience advantage. He has one more pro fight and almost 60 more minutes in the pro cage in comparison to Malott, because Fugitt has been more active, fighting 2 times a year in his 6.5-year career, while Malott hasn't been active, only fighting less than once a year over a 12-year professional career. And Adam shows great pace in his fights. He's more active striking at distance, especially with his kicks with his left leg. He uses his length well when he kicks, so he loves using that weapon to maintain distance. In addition to being a busy striker, Adam has been a willing wrestler in his 2 UFC fights, attempting a total of 15 takedowns, getting 5 of them, and outcontrolling his opponents 30% to 1.4%, winning over 95% of the control time positions he's been in. So he's definitely pushing an impressive pace thus far in his fights. In summary, this fight has violence written all over it. Both guys are powerful strikers and dangerous grapplers. Both push a pace, and neither guy likes to see the scorecards, as 20 of 23 of their combined professional fights have finished inside the distance, and all 4 of their combined UFC fights have finished inside the distance as well. I liked what I saw from Fugitt in the Michael Morales fight. He was still throwing bombs and pushing a pace into the 3rd round, even though he took the fight on 9 days' notice, and it was his UFC debut. He got caught by a punch he didn't see, but it was a close fight. I think Fugitt's pace will serve him really well here. And should he weather the early storm against the potent finisher in Mike Malott, who has finished all 9 of his pro wins in the very first round, at the time of writing, Malott is about a minus 205 favorite, and I think Fugitt is live at that price. We still don't know much about Malott, as he's only been out of the first round once, and that was at featherweight back in 2015, so it really doesn't tell us much. I like Malott's opportunistic finishing, his solid technical striking, his youth, his slick submission grappling, and on the Fugitt side, I like the activity, the pace, the ability to maintain distance with his kicks and his wrestling. If he can weather the early storm, I like him to break Malott late, as we just don't know how Mike will respond in the 2nd round and beyond if he doesn't get the finish in the first. But that being said, the pick is Mike Malott by first-round submission. And I'll be taking a look at the second and third round props for Fugitt when they open on other sites. So, yeah, man, that is the pick there. We're going to go Mike Malott winning this one by first-round submission. All right. And that brings us to the co-main event of the evening, which is probably the best fight on the card. Charles Dvorak Oliveira going up against Beneil Dariush. Dvorak plus 125. Dariush the favorite at minus 145. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 220. Let's see here. And I left a comment up. Yeah, Dad's saying that's unfortunate. Still no audio. Yeah, we can see the hype though. Yeah, 100 bets on Nunes, 1,000 units on Nunes. Aldana sucks. Retweet it, Weezy. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Let me just do that. There we go. Nate the Train. Retweet my guy Moyes. There we are. All right. Cuddles Knickerbockers in the room, and TBB saying to him, we did with Pena. We learned our lesson. Adam Fuckett says, Knickerbocker, let's go, Fugitt. Malott hates getting hit. His BJJ great uses double legs for entry, which Fugitt defends. Slava was the striking coach and Malott was the jiu-jitsu coach. And yeah, and I've heard people say both, right? I've heard say that Malott's coached the striking as well. And I've watched fights and I've heard people say he's the BJJ coach. I've also heard him say he's the striking coach. So I don't know, man. Fugitt was very aware of the danger too. Malott better get his finishing round one or Fugitt will take over. I think so. 4-inch reach going to bully Malott? Could be, man. Malott tickets to die after 3 minutes, 20 seconds, or after the third jab touches his chin. Dog of the card is Fugitt, says Daz. Turn into the cage, Malott. Weezy, I decided Fugitt. I'm taking Malott by sub, okay? Malott ain't chinny. He just hates being hit. People's main event. Benny BJJ better than Oliveira is much more creative. Odds are getting out of hand for this one. I like Benny, but I might have to cast my die with Chuck. If Malott was the striking coach, explains why Team Alpha Male is like a 40% win rate. Well, I know that Slava's the striking coach there now, but Mike Malott's been there a lot longer. He's been there for years. So, they might have changed it. But either way, we're going to start talking about Oliveira versus Dariush here. And we're going to first start talking about the former champ, Charles Dvorak Oliveira, and his advantages in the spot. He's a little bit younger. He's actually 6 months younger than Dariush, and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage. And Charles has the overall and the UFC experience advantage. He's got 16 more professional fights, 40 more minutes in the pro cage, and almost 2 more years as a pro fighter. And he's got 2 more UFC fights since 2013. Charles is the more dangerous and opportunistic finisher. He finished 15 of his 17 wins since the year 2013, 12 subs, 3 knockouts, while Beneil has a 50% finish rate in the UFC. The average fight time in that 23-fight sample size is 7.77 minutes. Charles really brings a high-pressure style on the feet that's difficult to deal with. Dariush has the far better metrics, but the pressure affects different fighters in different ways, and we'll see how Beneil winds up handling it. Charles is such a dangerous and opportunistic submission grappler. He's the all-time submission leader in the history of the UFC in any weight class. He has excellent back takes, and he's finished 12 of his 17 UFC wins since the year 2013 by submission. He's not the most efficient minute winner in the grappling exchanges, but he finds ways to win moments all the time. And the strength of schedule is similar for both fighters at the UFC level. However, Oliveira's metrics in the overall category are just a tick better for ratio, as it's 1.55 for Oliveira, 1.41 for Dariush, and total fights, 18.09 for Oliveira, 15.48 for Dariush. Also, Oliveira was a champion. He strung together an 11-fight win streak before the loss to Makhachev. So the recent form in particular is just a bit better than Dariush's, but Dariush is on a winning streak of his own, obviously. Now, Beneil is going to be the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. He's white hot right now. He's on an 8-fight winning streak of his own. Dariush is a fantastic minute winner wherever the fight goes. He's 9-0-1 in 10 UFC decisions, so it's bearing out when he fights. Beneil has the superior distance striking metrics over a huge sample size. His 1.05 distance striking differential is better than Oliveira's negative 0.85. Both guys have shown similar power on the feet, and Dariush has been far more defensively responsible at distance with a 64% striking defense compared to only 53% for Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And Dariush has done a better job of winning minutes in the grappling exchanges. He's a fantastic scrambler. He has over 80% takedown defense, and he's winning almost 82% of the control time positions he's been in compared to only 48% for Oliveira. So Beneil really does a great job of not only winning minutes with his grappling, but more importantly, not losing them. Only 8.8% control time against the high level of competition that Dariush's face is very, very impressive. See a lot of green here in these numbers here for Beneil Dariush in the grappling exchanges, as we do for Oliveira as well, but even in the distance striking, you can see that these are just fantastic metrics here for Dariush, while you see a lot more red, especially in the defensive side here for Charles Oliveira. So this is a great fight. Both guys are extremely dangerous wherever the fight goes. They're both really experienced, well-rounded, and well-tested, and both guys finish fights. I think the difference maker in this fight, though, is how dangerous Oliveira is. I think wherever the fight goes, he'll be the guy more likely to finish. Oliveira is younger, he's longer, he's more experienced, he's the UFC all-time submissions leader, he's the former lightweight champion, a belt he defended twice before losing to Islam Makhachev, and he's fought the slightly better and more experienced the competition, according to my metric. I like Oliveira to win this fight inside the distance, and I'm predicting a second-round rear naked choke. Dariush has a really bad habit of giving up his back like a wrestler when he stands back up, and Oliveira is a master of finding the back when his opponent does that. So whether it's the longer and more athletic Oliveira finding a big shot on the feet, or getting to Dariush's back in a scramble, or whether he locks up a ghillie after Dariush is forced to shoot due to the fact that Oliveira constantly pressures, he refuses to fuck off, I can see many scenarios where Oliveira finds the moment that finishes this fight, and Dariush has been finished in all 4 of his UFC losses. So I'll be betting the inside the distance prop on Charlie Oliveira this week when I find the best available price. That was what I wrote at the time that I wrote it. I already found the price plus 200 on DraftKings. I'm betting 1 unit on it. 100% of Beneil Dariush's losses have been inside the distance at the UFC level. And Charles Oliveira has finished 89% of his UFC wins inside the distance. Beneil Dariush is 8-0-1 in decisions. So I'm taking Oliveira by his best win condition, which is a finish. Plus 200, 1 full unit on it. That's the biggest bet that I have on this card so far, and I'm very confident in it. Beneil Dariush was just plus 170 to Mateusz Gamrot, everybody. Coming off a serious injury, and this is recency bias at its best. He had a good fight against Gamrot, but I think that Oliveira is 10 times more dangerous of a striker and submission grappler than Mateusz Gamrot is, and I think that Oliveira is going to submit this dude in the second round. So Charles do Bronx Oliveira to win this fight by submission in the very second round brings us to our main event, everybody. 55 of you guys hanging out live in here with your Uncle Weezy. Please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button and consider joining the Patreon to get access to some of the best stats available anywhere that you're going to find out here from content creators on YouTube. So appreciate each and every one of you guys for checking in, and let's break down this fantastic main event between Amanda the Lioness Nunes going up against Irene Aldana. So the line on this fight is going to be Nunes minus 325, Aldana plus 250. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 260. One last sip of the beer here before we finish up. All right. So we are going to talk first about the champion, Amanda Lioness Nunes. She's got a 1-inch reach advantage. She's got the overall and the UFC experience advantages. She's got 7 more pro fights, 30 more minutes in the pro cage, 4.5 more years as a professional fighter. She also has 6 more UFC fights and 30 more minutes in the octagon. Amanda's been a great finisher at the UFC level, finishing 2/3 of her 15 UFC wins against the best fighters on the planet. Wherever the fight goes, Amanda wins minutes. She's 5-0 in decisions against the best fighters on the planet. 5-0 in decisions, while Irene Aldana is 3-4 in decisions in the UFC. Very interesting. Amanda's got crazy power, too. She's landing knockdowns on 1.53% of the distance strikes that she's landing. That's 8 knockdowns in 17 UFC fights, and she's never been dropped once. Amanda has very nice distance striking metrics with a positive 1.58 distance strike differential, 49% accuracy, 61.5% defense, and she's only absorbing 3.5 distance strikes per minute, which is far below the divisional average. Amanda's minute winning in the grappling exchanges has been next level. Just look at all this green everywhere. The only red spot here is that she's getting 0.16 less reverses per 15 minutes than the average, but 81% takedown defense, 59% takedown accuracy, 2.68 takedowns per 15 minutes, only allowing 0.5 out, winning 83% of the control time positions that she's in. 35% control time for, 7% control time against. It's just fantastic metrics everywhere, whether it's the striking, whether it's the clinch and the ground striking, whether it's the grappling, whether it's the win-loss record. Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. And so she's getting 2.58 takedowns per 15 minutes, 59% accuracy, 81% defense, out-controlling her opponents at almost a 5-to-1 ratio. So kicking ass and taking names in the grappling exchanges. Big-time strength to schedule advantage, 1.89 ratio for Nunes, 1.35 for Aldana. They're both fighting experienced competition, but when you look at the wins, Irene Aldana has 7 wins. The combined record of those ladies, 27 wins, 27 losses. Amanda Nunes has 15 wins, and the ladies that she's beating have a combined UFC record of 89 wins and 46 losses. Almost a 2-to-1 win-to-loss ratio in 9 total fights. So Amanda Nunes has definitely fought, beaten, and lost to the superior grade of competition here. Now, Irene Aldana throws a lot more volume at range than Amanda Nunes does. She's attempting 15.15 distance strike attempts per minute. Nunes only attempting 10.4. If Amanda can keep this at range, if Irene can keep this at range and stay busier and perhaps win minutes if she's faster and has better footwork. Irene doesn't really attempt takedowns, so she gets out-controlled by her opponents, but she does her best work at distance striking range, and she's shown 81% takedown defense, has Irene. She's got 53 attempts against. She stuffed 43 of them. And she's getting controlled less than 15% of her UFC octagon time. So if she can keep this fight at distance striking range 83% of the time and avoid the big shot, stop Amanda's takedowns, she could find a way to win this fight by winning the minutes on the feet. I just don't think it's very likely. I think there's a very high probability that one of 2 things happens. One, Nunes's wrestling or the threat of the wrestling makes Irene's striking not as effective as usual. And 2, the fact that Amanda probably does wind up being the better striker because Irene has to worry about that pressure of Nunes, about the grappling of Nunes. This is the best grappler that she's faced by a mile. Look at these last 5 fights. Mellow, terrible. Ketlin Vieira knocked her out right away. Holly Holm beat the shit out of her, ragdolled her. She won that fight 50-45. Yana Santos and then Macy Chason. And that was a lucky up kick to the liver finish there. That she was losing. So if you're getting dominated on the ground by Macy Chason, you're going to have serious problems against Amanda Nunes. So I see Amanda probably just completely dominating in the grappling. And I think there's a high probability as well that Nunes just wins the striking exchanges because Irene has to worry about the takedowns. So this is a tough road to hoe for Irene Aldana. She's taking this fight on short notice against the greatest of all time. She's pretty much outmatched everywhere. Nunes' toughest opponent in her fighting career has been the scale, though. I need to see her make weight comfortably in order to know she had a good weight cut and she's fully invested in continuing to cement her legacy as the greatest to ever do it. If Amanda makes weight and looks good doing it, I think she's a fantastic parlay piece, and she runs through Irene Aldana on short order. I'm picking Nunes to win this fight by second round submission. So Amanda Nunes, and still by submission in the second round over Irene Aldana. That did it, you guys. We broke down all of these fights. I only have 2 small track bets thus far. They are Maverick by KO for 1/10 of a unit at plus 200. Charles Oliveira inside the distance at plus 200 for 1 full unit. I will be adding Chris Curtis's finish only prop. It's minus 110, I think, or minus 115 right now on BetOnline Sportsbook, but I want to see where FanDuel and where DraftKings open that. I think that Chris is a lot more durable than Nassourdine Imavov, and I think he's going to be much more likely to finish this fight. So I'm looking at a Chris Curtis finish-only prop. I'm looking at Jasmine Jasudavicius to win by decision if I can get something better, 350 or better. I'm also taking a long look at that Adam Fugitt money line. I'm taking a long look at the fight doesn't go to decision for Malott Fugitt. Also the under 1.5. The fight doesn't start round 3. The fight doesn't start round 2. Love the violence in that one. And I think a decision-only prop on Beneil Dariush could be very interesting. What is the decision-only prop for Beneil? Minus 200. So they feel the same way that I do, that Beneil's best win condition is a decision, winning the moments, putting Oliveira on his back and avoiding the submission attempts, and then Oliveira's best finish or best win condition is a finish. So, yeah, I'm definitely going with Dvorak here for the biggest bet of the week so far, but there's going to be more to come as the rest of these lines start to open on DraftKings. We barely got any props right now. So let's see what you guys are saying here. MMA Hedge Fund saying we've also probably reached the point where Dvorak's plus money against anyone not named Islam is an auto bet. I'm with you on that, dude. Good man, Weezy, says Nigel Lee. Fair argument at MMA Hedge Funds. I would rather piss on my money and throw it away than bet this main event. Nate to Train, says TVV. Irene was not gifted this fight by accident. We all know what the UFC wants. Well, it's not up to what the UFC wants. It's up to what Amanda Nunes and Irene Aldana want. Aldana hasn't made 135 since 29. That's true. Her last 2 fights have been at 140. So we got to see the scales on this. Weezy, you're taking Dvorak for the ass shaving like a fucking savage, aren't you? We will find out, MMA Hedge Funds. We will find out. Dan is saying, good luck, gentlemen. Appreciate the breakdown, Weezy. Let's stack these cash tickets like flapjacks. Let's go, man. Best of luck, lads. Let's burn the bookies this week. If Nunes looks bad on the scale, you switching your pick? Potentially, yes. I got to see her on the scale, though, for sure. And I got to see Aldana on the scale. It's short notice for her, and she hasn't made 135 in a minute either. So great work as always, says my guy Fender Jazz. Yeah, so that brings us to the last order of business. What's it going to be, you guys? Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. You know, I picked Dan Ige to win by first round knockout. I picked Charles Oliveira to win by finish. I'm picking Amanda Nunes to win by finish. I'm picking Mike Malott to win by finish. I got Barriault by decision. I've got Curtis by third round knockout. I've got Maverick by decision. I've got Qileng by decision. I've got Bilder by decision. I've got Dvorak by decision. And I've got Belbita by decision. But who's it going to be? Who do you guys think? Do you guys... Fugitt is TVB's picks. But I reckon you're on Ige for ass shaving of the week. But you know what? Might be my guy MMA Hedge Funds who's right here. Let's see. Oh, boy. Yeah. 2 weeks in a row. It didn't work out last week, right? We took a plus money ass shaving of the week. We rode with Daniel Pineda. Did not work out. But this time I'm betting on the former champion. I'm betting on the guy that's faced the better brand of competition recently. You know, I'm fading the overreaction, making Beneil Dariush, a plus 170 underdog against Mateusz Gamrot to making him a minus 140 favorite against the guy who's won 11 of his last 12 fights in Charles do Bronx Oliveira, that defended the title twice. That's only loss has been to Islam Makhachev. I think he's going to get his back, and I think he's more likely to land the big shots on the feet. I'm going with Charles do Bronx Oliveira to shave the ass of Beneil Dariush and cash this plus 200 bet for inside the distance for Charles do Bronx Oliveira. 50 of you guys still hanging out live here. We got it done in less than 2 hours. We had a Nate the Train interview, which you guys couldn't hear, which was absolutely classic. We had story time with Uncle Weezy. We broke down 11 fights from nose to toes. Finished with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Gave you the track bets. We're done working for tonight, you guys. Now the next order of business is for me to work on finishing this beer and putting timestamps on this video for you guys so that you can easily navigate your way through it and figure out what all my picks are. I appreciate all of you guys. Please consider joining that Patreon. These stats that I've been showing you guys are next level, and you can support me and make sure that I continue to do this work by signing up for it. And I appreciate each and every one of you that is already on the Patreon. All 60 of you are really making a difference in my life, and it makes so much. It makes it so much easier for me to do this work full time. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 289. I will be on Pub Sports Radio tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time for the DFS show. Come back here for a little bit of prize picks and Ask Weezy talk at 10 o'clock Central Time on my channel. And I'll be joining my guy MMA Propaholic with my guy Lou Betya on his channel to break down this card on Thursday. So we got a lot of work left to do this week, but now the work is going to be finishing off this beer and putting timestamps on this video. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will catch you all tomorrow, and let's beat these bookies with a bag of oranges until we juice them and stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 289. Good night, everybody.